Okay. Welcome everybody from YouTube.
Everybody.
And we're going to make a start straight away. And Daniel's going to introduce everybody as we go forward. Daniel, do you want to sit in the seats?
Yeah, let's everybody take a seat. We'll say hello to YouTube and we'll start it a little bit here. Just gonna take a seat here. Matt, do you want to take a seat anywhere you're comfortable?
Sure.
Lovely.
By the way, the 3D audio is still on, so.
Yes, thank you for that. Okay, gonna switch 3D audio off. Let me see if I
That sounds better, Dan.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just for the audience to know, going to mute you during this section. There will be a part at the end where you will be able to ask questions. We'll switch your microphones on towards the end. So, having said that, want to say a big shout out to YouTube, anybody out there watching. Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming to this event today. Going to give a brief introduction, context to the event. First words I should say is thank you to Chris also from Engage for helping us set this up. We have a collective effort here happening between Engage, Educators in VR, myself. Donna is here from Educators in VR. We have Brian and some of his team from River. We'll be meeting them briefly later as well. Sorry, Alex from River and Brian from Xrfiles. We've been running a number of kind of cutting edge events. This is one of them. I'm very, very excited to introduce Matt Hasel from Stanford and the Tripointlab. Just before we kind of get into you and why we're all here, I think Chris has got a little taster lined up for us. Ready when you are, Chris?
Yeah, I'm going to run this off my hard drive, so we'll hope this works okay.
Okay, just bear with us while Chris preps this. But there's a little immersive teaser for you. Chris has a penchant for putting nice little effects together. When you're ready, who have we got? We've got Oscar here, Brian. We got Pau, Gingery, Kevin. Hi, Kevin. Shannon, Carlos over there. We got a nice international audience here today. Wonderful.
Hey, do you want to go ahead and get started,
right.
Daniel? I'm going to pop out and I'll pop back in.
Not a problem. Okay, we'll come back to that in a minute. So, well, with that, Matt, thank you so much for coming. How are you? You okay? Oh, we jumped out with Chris and everything left. We'll keep going. Chris will sort it out. Don't worry. How are you? How are you, Matt? You okay?
I'm well, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you for coming all the way from Stanford. Was the trip okay?
Stanford, my commute was all of about 0.5 seconds here.
Yeah, exactly. The upload speed. Wonderful. So we're here because you at Stanford have done something very interesting, and I want to ask you briefly about it. Before we get into that, I'm going to give a little rundown of what the audience can expect, because Engage is great for meeting and talking, but it's even better for having an interactive experience. So we're going to have a bit of a conversation with Matt first and hear about his project. Then he's going to take us to his lab and give us a real treat of an experience in the lab. There'll be opportunity to discuss that a little bit. From there, we're going to go to an operating theater in 360, and we'll preface that a little bit when we get there, which is... we had a quick look at that recording. It's amazing. From the 360 shared experience, we'll come back here and kind of debrief a little bit, and people will get a chance to ask you some questions. And then when we have all that, we have a final little treat ready for you. Here we go. I love how this all jumps back in just one click. There you go. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, let's take a seat back there and get comfortable. Okay. Right, so now that we know what to expect, Matt, you have done tell them just an overview of kind of what you've done for them to understand kind of why it's important as well. Please.
Sure, well, just a quick little background about myself. I've been working with the folks at Stanford Anatomy in the School of Medicine for about a dozen years. My job is largely to help leverage technology to teach medical students, the medical students that come through our school every year.
Right.
To that end, that evolved from creating multimedia to creating interactive applications, leveraging 3D models of the human body, and so on. When the Oculus Rift SDK first came out, our chief of anatomy and I kind of looked at each other and said, well, fantastic voyage, right? We can do a lot of different things
Exactly.
that you can't do with human specimens when you are in VR. So we've been working in VR since then. And then, at the same time, part of our mission and our initiative is to try to find ways to bring access to medical education to students around the world where access to that kind of education is limited or none at all. At the same time, access to physical specimens around the world is often also limited or not at all. And so for the last, I would say about year and a half, we've been working on testing this out with different schools around the world, including in Peru, Colombia, Rwanda, Kenya, South Korea, and trying these things out. So our faculty, when the pandemic hit, was already accustomed to using Zoom and using it to leverage different media. We would cast 3D models over the over the Zoom call. We would cast volumetric data, and so on, and including didactic lectures. Along comes the pandemic, and one of the interesting things about the Division of Clinical Anatomy is we're in the Department of Surgery, but we're the only division out of, say, 10 that don't see patients and thereby earn clinical revenue. So we have to sometimes generate our own revenue, and one of the ways we do that is by running a very large high school summer program, kind of an anatomy summer camp. When the pandemic came along and Stanford said, geez, you can't have anybody on campus, you can't run your program.
That was your revenue stream, right?
Gone. Yes. So I said, well, what if we did it in VR?
Mm-hmm.
So we came up with the idea that we could build a week-long class instead of running it 2 weeks. We ran two 1-week cohorts instead, and we hybridized the class. We said, we know the students are going to be tired of sitting on Zoom all day, so we'll do some of the stuff in Zoom as normally, like a lecture, for instance, and then let's switch to VR. Somehow, miraculously, I managed to talk Best Buy Education into selling me 72 Quests.
Wow! You sweet talker.
I have a sinister satisfaction in disrupting the Quest supply chain there for a little while.
Love it.
But
it's for good purpose, for a good cause, though, right?
Exactly right. They love it. So we boxed those up along with a suturing kit for an activity that the students could do, a T-shirt and so on, and then we sent one of these out to every one of our 64 students. I also had 3 faculty members and 3 teaching assistants also all receive a Quest.
Right.
And, again, with very little intervention, we were able to get everybody on board. And sure enough, by Monday at 11 o'clock, we had the entire class in VR. So,
can I just ask, the students, did they have prior experience of VR? How was that onboarding process for them receiving a box in the post, and from that moment, I mean, don't need to go into detail, but just briefly, was that okay?
It turned out better than I expected. A few of them had some VR experience. I think one of them actually opted to use his own Vive.
Okay.
Believe it or not, we actually shipped one to London. We shipped a couple to Los Angeles. And most of the students were around the Bay Area. So
I think you could market that experience very well. Just the logistics side of shipping those. I know people who would pay money to find out how you did that effectively. Okay.
Well, I can share with you that we're working with Best Buy right now to actually come up with a plan to what amounts to renting these headsets out to students.
I love the sound of that. You will get a lot of interest in that. Yeah.
We're gonna, at least in the U.S. at first, we're going to drop ship headsets to the students.
Great.
We'll have a return label to send it back.
Yeah.
Squad will sanitize it, reprovision it, and turn it around for the next student. So that's what we're working on right now.
Amazing.
But thanks to Chris and the team at Engage, I had decent instructions built on how to set the thing up, and Facebook built a nice onboarding video for the Oculus Quest. I tried to be as hands-off as possible, tested it on my faculty and TAs first. They all got it. They all got it without my intervention. And I think I maybe had 4 or 5 students over the course of the 2 weeks that had needed some technical assistance. And it was really because they just didn't read all the instructions. So we got them going right away.
Okay. Right. So let me just recap. You were in an interesting position with your organizations around the world because they don't have access, and then a particular niche thing is you're not only doing it in VR, but you're sharing volumetric models, and we'll talk more about that in a minute with Alex.
Yeah.
Right. And actually on that point, I think, Chris, are you ready to run that sequence now?
I think I hear a rhinoceros approaching.
Yes, okay,
indeed,
here we go.
do.
Watch your backs, guys. Love that. Amazing. Thank you, Chris.
Way to go, Chris.
Oh, is anyone else hearing that feedback?
Okay. Yeah, I just muted everybody.
Okay.
Except for the host. I can't mute the host.
All right.
We'll see if we can find it.
I muted Donna there.
Oh, there we go. I think that was it.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, no problem. All right. That was amazing. That's an idea of the three-dimensionality. Those were some of the models where you were using, Matt. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yep.
Okay. And just a little teaser. When we come back round to the end of the event, we will give you the opportunity to actually interact with some of those models as well. So you'll be using real Stanford models. Right. Well, let's have a look how we're doing for time. Time always flies crazy in these events. So what I want to suggest, Matt, we're going to come back and ask more questions and let the audience ask more questions later on. But really what we'd like to do, if I'm not mistaken, it's possible to actually visit your lab. Is that right? Chris, could you show us what that lab looks like? Before we actually go there?
Yeah, let's pull that up. Hang on one.
Yeah, Matt.
Before we jump over there, I was just going to say, normally one of the things that our high school students that join us every summer look forward to is actually being on Stanford, being in the dissection lab.
Yes.
And so we had our 3D artist I had managed to get my hands on the blueprints for the lab, and she created a replica in 3D. So we were actually able to virtually bring the students into
we'll be picking up on that, the fact that
of our lab. So.
Right. The fact that for Stanford is such a big brand, people going to Stanford, it's a life experience for them. And now with COVID, if they can't come, you're losing that as well. But by replicating the lab, you're kind of holding on to that feeling a little bit, which I think is really powerful. So yeah, Absolutely. Chris, do you want to play just a short clip of where we'll be going to highlight the difference between seeing it in 2D versus actually going there, which I think is really powerful. So these are the models we saw earlier, or some of them. That's traveling down the spinal cord channel. All right. That's great. Thanks, Chris. We just stop it there for a minute. So this really highlights the difference. For those of you in VR here, you know the difference. But I love seeing it in 2D. And now with a click of a button, Chris, will you take us over there? We're actually gonna. Yeah, I hope you all brought your passports and you have visas and vaccination and the mask. We're heading to Stanford now, Matt. And I've never been to Stanford, so I'm really excited to see your lab. I was there in VR, but here we go. Ready when you are.
Right, everybody come on in to the lab. So it's pretty cool. Everybody can hear me, right?
Yes.
Right. So this is
there you go.
Yep. This is a replica of the Stanford Dissection Lab.
Yay.
Yeah, even our medical students aren't quite yet able to enter this lab this week when medical school started, although our teaching assistants are currently working in the lab. We hope to get the students next week with a special COVID protocol. You can see some replicas of our dissection tables. Normally we have 28 of these dissection tables along these bays. If you take a peek around the corner, you can see we have two symmetrical bays. We actually took the liberty of extending an ante room over there to make it a little bigger so we could separate our breakout groups out a little further.
Right.
But so, Chris,
do we need to wear lab coats, Matt?
Yeah. So Matt, if you recall, for this is actually a spatial capture. Do you want to set the stage for this, Matt, of what we actually recorded here with the doctor?
Yeah. Sure. We're gonna. So you all saw some 3D models there, and that's normally what we use, are generalized models of the human body. They are originally derived from real human anatomy, but have been worked on by 3D artists to make them as anatomically accurate as possible. There is no such thing as normal anatomy. Everybody's body varies in different ways, but there's generally anatomy is in the neighborhood. But you're also going to see some photogrammetric scans of prosected specimens. Now, these are actual human specimens in our prosection lab. We started to undertake the effort of photogrammetry in order to, again, with the idea of providing access. Not everybody can come to Palo Alto to the Stanford prosection lab and see these and interact with these.
Can I just pick up on that, Matt, that particular point? Because what's so powerful about this is somebody has passed away for whatever reason, has donated their body to science and made it available to Stanford Lab. Now, that in itself is a great act for science. But what you're doing is infinitely expanding the usefulness of that by making a photorealistic model. And a company like River and Alex over here, you're specialists in creating photorealistic models. So what you're doing is taking one person's body, and this will be of benefit not only to the people in Stanford, California, Western USA, but anybody who has access to a VR headset now. So that person has made a great gift, and you're extending that gift through the power of VR and photogrammetry, right?
That's absolutely right. And normally, in fact, we just held this little moment of silence on Monday with our fresh batch of medical students to honor them. We take advantage of the opportunity. We get medical students on day one of year one of their medical school career, and part of what we do is begin to teach the culture of compassion and empathy to doctors.
I love that.
And this first patient of theirs, even though they're deceased, has again, as Daniel said, given a great gift to us and to the students that get to work with them. And by virtue of turning them into digital objects, we can now extend that gift around the world.
Right.
In the physical lab, we would normally say no video or pictures. These are digital representations, so we're okay.
Yes. Okay, understood. Can I just make a suggestion before we play it, Chris? You know how you can play it in the original location?
Yes.
In which case the model ends up here.
That's
and
right.
we would have to push back against the room. Is there any way we can load the model so it's here to give us a bit more space, like just a couple of meters back? Is that possible?
Let's I've already brought it in because it's uploaded on our server. I can't do
Right.
that as easily.
We'll do what
let's
we
go
do.
ahead, but it is going to be tight. So if everybody wants to move over to this half, because we
Right.
recorded it actually as it happened, and this is where we all happened to be, was on this
Right.
side of the room. So if you want to come over,
And maybe just pause it when you load it, so give people a chance to find a good spot, and then play it from there when we've got a good vantage point. Okay, cool.
Very good. And I'll set this up for you all. What you'll see is we're going to bring up a very large digitally
Shall I go ahead with it?
Skull specimen. Here's our doc right now.
Okay.
Dr. Hamid Raouf. He's an anatomy professor. He's an anatomy professor at Cornell, Qatar, in Doha, and we've been working with him for a while. He's actually doing some photogrammetry himself. We've set him up to start doing that. You're also going to see some other students and folks from Stanford in the room as well in this recording. But Hamid, I talked him into buying a Vive. He set that up, and we've been playing around with it. But I invited him to this demonstration, and we pulled up this pro section. Well, he happens to be very well versed in this particular anatomy, and sort of launched into an ad hoc tour. This was his first time in Engage. He's going to give us a tour. Now, he didn't yet know how to run a pointer, so you see me here putting the pointer for him. Well,
your younger self.
Yeah, about 3 weeks younger, right?
Yeah. Can I just point one thing out about that? That I think is wonderful, because you showed me this last week, and what it remarked on is that this is very much a Stanford location and event, and a Stanford branded experience, if you like. And yet, when I asked you, you said none of the people actually in this recording were at Stanford at the time, although they all had a Stanford experience, right?
That is absolutely right.
For me, that's the end of distance. It's the end of location. I find that fascinating. Yeah.
I'm sitting in the very same chair I was sitting in then, about a month ago or so. Hamid is in Doha, Qatar.
Yeah.
We have where'd she go? Libby here at her house somewhere in the area. So everybody was coming in from somewhere else. Chris, there's probably a couple instances of him in here from Salt Lake.
Yeah, there I am.
All right. So we're gonna watch a short section of this.
You're in every recording.
Yeah, and so for some of you with slower connections, it might take a little bit of time for these objects to pop up. Be patient. I'm going to go ahead and get this started.
So 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll have a chat.
Okay, that's what we call it, a sagittal section of the head. Look, this is the skull bone here at the top, of course, which is covered by what we call it the scalp. Okay, that's the scalp on top. And what you see here, these partitions, these are the meninges. This is the dura mater. The dura mater is...
I was going to pause that for a second. Those on the blank wall side, if you want to walk through the wall, come over on this side of the room, you'll be able to see over here.
Okay, yeah.
Here we go. Great.
There you go. That's the
of
photo.
The 3 coverings that surround the brain is the toughest one. It's in English, it means the tough mother. So this is one variant of the dura mater. We call it falx cerebri. It separates the 2 halves of the brain, of course, to prevent concussion, as they say. So this is hole where the cranial cavity, where the brain is located. And you can see part of the brain coming down all the way here, that we call it the brainstem, which continues all the way through this major opening here. We call it foramen magnum. It continues all the way down as the spinal cord. These are the cervical vertebrae, which we have 7 of them. We teach students, we tell, the human has 7 vertebrae. How many cervical vertebrae in the neck of a giraffe? And immediately they say 700 at least. But it's the same anyway, as you know. There is, here what you see here, this is the tongue, of course, this is what we call it the
I'm going to pause that just for a moment. I am curious from a technical perspective. Is there anybody by the raise of hands not seeing the pro section? Excellent. Okay, we do have one.
Yeah, great
Kevin
stuff.
and Ian, it looks like, can't see that. I'm not sure why, but that's great. Thank you very much.
What we call it the oral cavity. And of course, this is part of the teeth in the mandible, the lower teeth. That's the whole tongue here. And then on top of the tongue, there is the roof of the mouth, which we call it the palate. Partly bony, we call it hard palate. Partly soft, only tissues, soft tissues, we call it soft palate. And this is the lowermost part of the soft palate. We call it the uvula, which all this palate separates what's in the mouth, the oral cavity, from what is above it, which is the nasal cavity. That's the nasal cavity. What we're looking here at what we call it the lateral wall of the nasal cavity, the wall that runs in the middle, which is the nasal septum, has been removed. We see only the lateral wall of the nasal cavity. Actually, the lateral wall, if we go all the way in, it goes into the maxillary sinus, air sinuses, as you know, what causes sinusitis in people. There are 4 pairs of them. This is one of them. This is the sphenoid. Then deeper to this, there is the maxillary. There is a frontal. And the other one is not visible. We call it ethmoid. So that's the oral cavity. As you go backwards from the nose, this is all the space here from the base of the skull, goes all the way down. That's the pharynx. The pharynx is a receptacle. It receives the nasal cavity. We call it nasopharynx. Part of it behind the oral cavity. We call it oropharynx. And part of it behind the larynx. This is the larynx or the voice box. These are the vocal cords, by the way. So this part here, which is behind the larynx, we call it laryngopharynx.
Chris, should we go about another 20 seconds, 30 seconds?
Sure.
Because
Yep.
it allows air to go to the larynx and down to the trachea when you are breathing. And when you're eating or drinking, it allows the food or drink, whatever, it goes all the way back to the esophagus, down to the stomach, as you have.
All right.
All right, thank you very much. I hope you're all taking notes. I'm going to test you on the anatomy of this now. Right, thank you, Matt. Just
Daniel, I just wanted to point out,
please.
this is normally a real skull, like
Yes.
size of your head, right? And
Right.
so in the Dissection Lab, students are able to only a very limited number stand
Right.
around and look at and talk about this.
Yeah.
The fact that VR allows us to do things like manipulate scale in this way
Yes.
provides an opportunity to really get inside anatomy and understand the spatial relationships in a much better and distinct way.
That's one of the things I wanted to comment on, the fact that there are so many layers that are easy to kind of overlook that are happening in something like this. First of all, everybody's spread out around the world, which allows you to reach people who might not otherwise have access to medical training. Second of all, you're in Stanford, nevertheless. Thirdly, that was a person who is deceased made their body available to science that you are sharing already anyway. But now you're able to share it as a digitalized version photorealistically, and you can make it bigger. In a sense, each student could be looking at their own version of it because you can clone it. Once you've made it once, you can make it 5 times. So students could have breakout sessions around here looking at their own little discussions, right?
Right. And indeed, speaking of breakout sessions,
yeah,
and Chris and I have talked about the 3D audio, so what we managed to do was, by using the spatial audio, is have a breakout session here in this room, one in that room over there, and then one in the far room. And although you could still hear a little chatter, for the most part, that worked out really well.
Not intrusive. Right.
Audio difficulties by the use of headphones and things like that. But the idea that we had was that normally when students come to the lab, that is exactly the physical experience they have. There is chatter going on in the next room. And you feel, and this makes use of what we know, what you and I know as presence in VR. It makes you feel as if you're really in a physical space.
Absolutely. I'd love at this point, it's a great moment. Alex, do you want to unmute yourself? Because I want to ask you a little bit of input on that model we saw. We've seen digital models, but this was a photorealistic model. Alex, do you want to
it looked
comment on
awesome, mean, I've seen it before briefly, and we made a little video of it. But Daniel, touching on what you said, and a little bit of what Chris said to me earlier, it feels like we're reaching a point, and it feels like there's an educational point that's an exponential education point that now you can scan the real world and like digitize it and multiply it all around the world and share that with everyone. It's exciting. I mean, Chris was just saying the same thing. Like, we're going to have to start getting busy, all of us, with this sort of thing. You know,
even busier.
Matt, you've done an awesome job with this stuff, but
well done.
even you have just scratched the surface. There's so many things that you could scan.
As you were saying that, Alex, I just wanted to. It just popped into my head. Could you imagine, Matt, while Stanford is a very physical location, this layout and the access it provides could essentially be licensed out. So you could have a Stanford Lab Asia, you could have a Stanford Lab Australia. Not that you would even need it really, because you could run it all from Stanford. But what I'm trying to say is you're creating a model here that could, there's only so many professors at Stanford who could run the sessions in VR even, but you could make this available to, I mean, Amit was in Oman, did you say, or Qatar? You can bring in anybody from anywhere now to teach.
Well, this is part of the idea. We've done, so I'll try to briefly give you an example of that. We're at 1:30, so we're good on time. So we have been building this global consortium. So for instance, the Queensland University of Australia is now running they're testing and beginning to plan to run virtual labs using these assets. Dr. Raouf in Qatar is the same. So we're making arrangements for him to be able to provide his students with standalone headsets. We had initially approached the idea of building out Vive labs where people can schedule time and come through and do that sort of thing. Pandemic kind of forced us to say, no, we're actually going to move this to the next level. We're going to get larger groups together, do this as in a much different approach. Not so much self-guided or small group, but larger groups. But to that end, the idea that we're working with a brand new medical school in Western Kenya that they've just started their third cohort of students, so they're at about 45 or 50 students. Now we've set up a few sessions where we either get up really early or we stay up really late, and we run a teaching session with them, and that's not logistically feasible over the long run. However, Dr. Raouf in Qatar is in the same time zone as they are.
There you go.
So the same goes for, say, Australia and and India and other parts of Asia. So the idea is that what we're building is a network of institutions and faculty members who are keen on leveraging this kind of technology, especially now during the pandemic. And we are indeed already planning to clone this concept and roll out these courses around the world.
And can I just check? I mean, we saw a short clip there of a spatial recording with Amit and yourself and attendees from around the world. Are you considering running or making that content available as well? So whilst you have to deal with time zones, which is of course a challenge, I mean, would you consider recording, for example, an anatomy session and just asking students who can't or won't, or just because of the volume, giving people access to the spatial recording as opposed to the live sessions? Are you considering that as well?
Yeah. So obviously you can record a Zoom. You can record a Zoom lecture. You can record a lecture on video. Even Khan Academy or Coursera have made their hay doing that. We can do the same. I agree that doing a spatial recording and letting students be able to move around, pause, and rewind is a very powerful thing. So as soon as Chris and the Engage team makes it possible for us to share discrete recording, as opposed to having to sideload a file on your Quest, then that's going to be a very powerful component of the didactic stuff that we want to offer. So we do think that pushing students to do the didactic on their own at their own pace is where we are headed.
Right.
We do also,
Matt, I was just wondering about the correlation you're doing. If you're doing the teaching and you're using this sort of format, are you doing any background correlation to see that how it stands up against physical teaching, so that we can have some metrics to back it up?
Yep, we are. We initial data from the summer program that's very positive, but we've also received a couple of small grants that are pushing us to the next step. We have received IRB approval to do some much more significant metric studies on this stuff. That said, there are citations available from other institutions that have already studied this. So we are building upon a library of knowledge that is proving that this stuff does work, is efficient.
Yeah, as long as it's going on across.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent.
Well,
But I was going to say, by the way, we know
Please.
that having live interactive events like this
yes,
adds a tremendous amount of value to a remote or an online class.
yes,
So
yes.
to that end, hybridizing the didactic and in a
Right.
real event like this is important.
But
So we're looking at ways to do that.
it's a new kind of hybrid, right? Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, you're suggesting the hybrid is a combination of spatial recordings and live events, as opposed to only online and VR. The hybrid has a new element. It's hybrid because you have the spatial recordings and the VR. But it's a new kind of hybrid. Cool.
I mean, we're gonna have classes that would run like this, where we all come on at the same
Yes.
time and
Yes.
we do an interactive class together. And those class sizes will have a smaller number.
Yeah.
But if we want to scale this, we obviously need to find ways to do it where the didactic is self-guided.
Understood.
And 1,000 students could take the class, and then we funnel into live events or
Right.
interactive sessions that are scheduled as such. So
Lovely.
we're working that out now.
Fantastic. Okay, so we have seen some models in Avebury, and we kind of introduced the project now. You've shown us this amazing space in the volumetric models and a spatial recording. I think the next thing we want to do, if I'm not mistaken, we want to go to a shared 360 room and watch a video there. Now, before we go there, I just want to say a couple of words, and maybe you'll say some words as well, Matt. This is a 360-degree recording inside an operating theater at Stanford. And there are very graphic images and scenes that you will see. It feels very real. So anybody who is sensitive to that kind of material, you might either want to wait until or there'll be a way to turn away from the action, so to speak, if you like. So once you can face the back wall. So you'll have an experience of being there without actually seeing, let's just say it, blood, because that is something we'll be seeing. Do you want to say anything else about that, Matt?
I do. So
Yes.
this video was provided to me as a courtesy by a company that is, licensing the whole series of the library of these videos
Yes.
out to residents and surgeons for them to do reviews prior to a surgery. He
Yes.
kindly loaned it to us for educational purposes, so we don't sit and watch the entire surgery with our students.
Right.
What we use this for, and we'll do this today, is just to provide a little context about how an operating room works and sort of what is going on. It is a hip resurfacing, so the patient has an arthritic head of the femur. They need to polish that up, polish up the inside of the joint on the hip side, and get this person moving smoothly and being athletic again. That's the point of the surgery.
Yes.
But what I'll do is just talk a little bit about sort of all of the stuff that's going on there to provide some context. And the reason we did this was not only to use another modality that was available to us in virtual reality, but all of these advanced high school students are all incredibly smart, are all of themselves pre-selected on a pre-med track. And we wanted to give them a sort of a glimpse of the future. Like if you are thinking you'd like to become a surgeon, this might be what it would look like for you down the road when you reach there. So it's a way to provide that sort of overview and context. So that's what we'll do today.
All right. Should we go there?
Yeah, let's head on over real quick. We're not going to do it in the 4K mode because we're not sure how everyone's internet connection is. So we are going to scale that down a little bit. And Matt, if you just happen to have some headphones available nearby, you could grab those and it will help quite a bit.
I have headphones on.
Oh, perfect. Okay. We're heading on over.
Lovely. See you there. All right, everyone. Just gonna set up the recording here again quickly.
Okay. Tell me when.
Okay. Yeah. I'm ready.
About you got it?
More
Okay. Interesting thing about 360 is you can move yourself around like this, but we're all standing essentially on top of the tripod for the 360.
Yeah. It's a special relativity.
Yes, right.
Okay.
So I'll bring this up. Skip ahead a little bit.
Right. So how long is the recording in total, Matt? Just we're gonna watch, I don't know, maybe tops 5 minutes, I think.
It's 35 minutes in total. So
right.
I'm just gonna skip ahead a little bit. I'll bring this up, bring the audio up a little bit to give you some ambience.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're not comfortable seeing the more detailed capture, you can turn yourself away. Yeah.
So I can start by giving us a little tour. If you want to start by looking at the back wall, you can see that there's a lot of equipment storage back here.
Yeah.
There are screens so that anybody else in the room, there are a bunch of people in this room, can monitor what's going on here. There's some medical record information here.
Yeah.
Actually, you can see there's a big IV stand here with a GoPro on it, so they're capturing some 2D video here on that stand. If you look straight down at your feet, you'll see the tripod that you're standing on, which is the 360 camera. Now, over here in this direction is you can see two tables stocked full of equipment. And believe it or not, all of this gear is possible that it gets used during this procedure. Now, a number of these devices are different sizes, so once they get inside the patient, they'll do sizing and then use the correct size piece of equipment to do the next step of the procedure. All of this stuff, of course, has to be sterilized, before and after every surgery. Did you put? Okay, so then we have over here the tech, whose responsibility is to get the equipment off these tables and into the ready
the tech
tray.
is a person.
Yes.
The tech is a person. The tech assistant, so to speak.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so this person is making sure that when stuff gets used, it gets taken out, and then what's next gets put into play. So then we have like nurse practitioners who are pulling the equipment into the field.
Yeah.
So, the company that builds these videos has done a really interesting job because we have to stand way over here.
Yeah.
There is a camera. You can see there's somebody running a camera. Now the person running it is hidden behind the screen.
Yeah. If you look down, you see the feet behind the screen. Yeah.
But there's a couple cameras running up here. So there's an overhead and one that's being controlled by a camera operator whose feet are down here. And that his feed is being shown on this screen so that we can get a glimpse of a close-up of the field from either one of those two cameras while we're watching this video. So, and again, I could, I guess, does anybody have any questions at this point? No?
Yeah, we can take a couple of questions while we're waiting for, if you want to ask a question, you can raise your hand, and maybe Chris, you can...
What I'm going to do is I'm going to put everybody on soft mute, which means you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Great, okay.
And there we go.
Right. I've got a comment rather than a question. I find it fascinating. I can't imagine any other way that we would have this as lay people, like as members of the public, that you would have this view. I can't think of another way that we could have this kind of immersive view. And just also to point out, this is 360. For those of you who know the difference between 360 and 360 3D or VR, it would give you depth perception, and we're not far off that as well, right?
Right. Now, what they did was that maneuver they just did with the leg was to dislocate the hip. So now you can see the head of the femur has been removed from the socket.
Matt, that's the bit I was trying to avoid, and you had to point it out.
You pointed it out. Yeah.
Dan, I was just going to say it would be even more amazing at some point when we can have a light field camera that's looking down onto that, because then you could have parallax and look left and right.
Wow.
As they're doing the operation.
Yeah. That's all coming. Absolutely agree.
You could just attach
So,
it to the surgeon, couldn't you? To the surgeons could have their own individual headset, and then you can
Could
switch
be,
moves
just-
on between them.
There's the problem with that is that you know, I don't know if you guys have done your own video capture, like say while you're wearing the Quest,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
watch the playback, and it's moving around much more
Yeah.
than you realize. Your brain sort of fills in the gaps of the head being moved around that much. It's actually really challenging to get good video off a surgeon's head.
Yeah, fair enough. You need some kind of stabilization
Yes.
program running. That can happen.
Well, yeah, I know I have just tinkered with a gimbal doing some video shooting that smartly can recognize a face and sort of keep
Yeah.
itself tuned to the face. So maybe with a little bit of AI, we could set a
Yeah.
key point in the field and have it sort of tune itself to the field.
Great.
There's so
Maybe-
many
maybe-
things. So many
maybe
things you
bolt-
could do, Matt.
Maybe bolt a
Yeah.
couple of cameras on the patient.
They're not going to
Might be
move.
easier.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess,
Okay.
I mean, it's probably good. Unless anybody has any questions, I think we could probably head back.
Yeah, I think now's a good time, and we can
All right.
we can take questions there as well. We don't need to be
Yeah, we
here for
got
the questions.
15
Yeah, we
minutes
got
left.
15 minutes, and we want some good interaction questions, and then there's a nice little treat at the end as well. Chris, want to take us back to Avery?
Here we go.
Thanks, man.
Make sure whoever's recording 3D
Yeah.
recordings, you want to stop that now.
Mhm.
Okay. And here we go.
All right, here we are. Come on back if you like. Here we go. All right. Wonderful. Well done, Matt. Okay.
Thank
Wow,
you.
we've been on a bit of a tour here, haven't we? Around the
Yeah.
world in 80 locations.
Yeah. Very fun. Very fun.
Yeah. Right. We're going to give everybody a moment or two just to find their seats, and then we'll love to hear your guys' impressions of what you've seen and heard from Matt. And then the last few minutes at the end, we're going to do a little bit of something interactive. But first of all, Matt, I've really enjoyed that. Thank you for all of that.
Thanks.
Has anybody got any questions? Now's the time. You are soft muted, which means if you want to talk now, you choose to unmute yourself by bringing up your tablet in your menu. On the right-hand side is your microphone button. You click that, which switches your microphone on. So don't be shy. Please don't be shy. You've seen quite a lot today. Think about, think about the industries you're in or what use case you might have. While we're waiting for other people, I'm going to continue with my own comments a little bit. So first of all, Matt, this is, would you say that, how soon do you think that what we've seen there is going to be scaled? Hey, wow. Wow, we have the Big Bang happening right in front of us. What do you think? How soon is it going to scale beyond? Yeah.
So, well, two things. First of all, I know you did just mention other industries, so I thought I would mention that, one of the reasons that we started Tripointlab was that, Stanford can't go around the world just commercially selling stuff. Like their mission is to teach students in the borders of campus drive, right?
Right.
So in order for this to work, we have to start a commercial entity that's sort of outside of Stanford and through which Stanford faculty can participate in us, selling these courses and so on.
Yeah.
And as we talked about earlier, building a consortium whereby other institutions participate and, can offer these courses to the world. That said, and yes, our focus is medicine now, and the libraries of content you've seen are medical in nature. But we build platforms in order to accommodate really anything that requires 3D for teaching. So we're always looking for opportunities.
So are you
to
going to
look
do
at
this
other-
outside of the medical field as well?
Absolutely. Why not take
Oh,
this
wow.
model
I didn't
and
appreciate
apply
that.
it?
Okay.
Yeah, apply it to other industries or other disciplines.
Yeah.
So and to that end, I've been talking with one of our Stanford professors who's an archaeologist. They're doing scans of their archaeological digs. And it's
I
great
tell you
as
what, Matt.
as a student to be able to walk through a dig site.
I tell you what, in a previous career, I did innovation labs and innovation workshops and masterminds and like idea generation type stuff. I imagine that the innovation side, because Stanford is known for its innovation, right? And you will have masters of innovation workshops that could work so well, like business innovation or invention workshops. These kind of creative things, it could work so well. If there's a position there, put my hat in the ring. There you go.
We'll talk later about that.
Yeah.
But as word has gotten out that we successfully ran this course this summer, including the lab, which you all just got to see.
Yeah.
I have heard word from instructors at other schools, whether it's San Jose State down the road from us, or Long Beach, or anywhere around the world, even Queensland University in Australia.
Yeah.
How are we going to provide the lab component of this class? We know we can do the didactic on Zoom. Maybe it's a pain, but it's doable, right?
Yeah.
We've already done that over the last quarter. So what are we going to do going forward? Well, to that end, we said, well, we now have a virtual lab. We can do something that offers a lab experience.
Yes.
And I'll give you an example. So for us, it's as soon as possible, as soon as we can get the paperwork in place, as soon as Best Buy is ready on their end, handle the logistics of sending quests out to a group of students. We're going to start.
Oh, your audio just cut out for me. Is anyone else?
He'll be back in 1 second.
Yeah. There you go. Did I hear you then, Matt? Yeah, you're back.
Yeah. Okay,
Sorry
great. So we're going to start small and test this out. Even Best Buy agrees. We need to test. They need to test the logistics on their end. But we're going to do small, all live classes with 16 students at a time, a 6-hour class. So we'll spread that out. There'll be an hour of Zoom, hour of VR, hour of Zoom, hour of VR, so on.
Matt, just a quick question, Matt. Working with MIT, are you doing any work with MIT? Because I know they've got their research lab online now in 3D. I just wondered if you're tying up with him.
Would love to.
Yeah, because they can do experiments and things with chemicals and everything simulated in 3D. So
fantastic.
It'd be a good call.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, we'll so then to continue to answer Daniel's question, we're going to roll that out. We're going to try to roll that out nationwide. So we'll scale that up. And at the same time, we're working to build out didactic that's much more scalable using adaptive learning, and then sprinkling in the VR components. So
absolutely amazing.
To build this out as a scalable solution that we can roll out on a wider scale, at least nationwide to begin with. Aside from those international locations, the difficult thing internationally is for them to acquire the hardware right now. So we're working on the logistics for those supply channels.
Absolutely. If you can sort that out for all of us, that would be amazing, Matt. Just tell us how you did it.
But to sort of jump on what Brian said, like one of the things that we're doing with the idea about the consortium. And this is a medical or healthcare affiliated consortium that we're building now, but the idea is to open the doors for other content creators, other technology providers, bring content libraries into our platform, to bring like other types of technology. Say it's like a scenario simulation, or like chemistry. The University of Netherlands is doing a very fascinating amount of 3D modeling around embryology, which would be
fantastic.
So those are things.
Sorry, Matt, we've got a question here from Rob out of Canada. Rob, please.
Hey.
Thanks. I didn't see you before. Hi.
Hi. So, like you, we've got a lot of classes at our college, and are you concerned about the new policy that Facebook has come out, where students have to have a Facebook account in order to use the Quest? this October. We're looking at pivoting to new headsets. Is that a concern for your group?
I I wasn't surprised by the news. I'm not terribly concerned. I did delete my personal Facebook account a few years back. I happen to have had to start one because we can't have just one person managing Anatomy's Facebook page. We have to have some redundancy in our system for that.
Mhm.
So I don't mind. I don't mind that at all. I mean, I think that I don't know what fraction of our students do not have a Facebook page. It's got to be an incredibly low fraction.
Mm.
And also the other balancing aspect for me is, like, say the next best headset that fills this part of the marketplace for hardware is $200 more. And if at the core of my mission is accessibility, that $200 means a lot. I mean, that's
Yeah.
So the only problem I see with the fact of doing it is that you can get a lockdown, and you can get into the situation with software where softwares are locked down to particular vendors, and I don't think
Wall
it's
gardens,
a good move. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's not the right move, but I don't think we can influence it at all.
Well, I agree with you. We could have a long discussion about this.
I would just say, a lot of people like this walled garden talk, like, Apple's a walled garden. If Apple comes with a set of glasses that's $400, then I'm dropping the Quest, going with the glasses. But
okay,
or,
all right.
If something comes out that's $300 that works this well, then I'm going with that. I'm generally hardware agnostic. I want to do what's best for the student in terms of what the quality of experience and the outcome is, and the accessibility, because that's what we're is bringing this out to the world.
All right. Matt, I have a feeling we might have to have you back sometime, because I don't feel we've really covered a lot of ground I'd like to cover. I'm aware a little bit of time, and I'm also aware, there you go, lovely. I'm also aware that we would love to give the participants an actual hands-on experience in some of the models. I'm seeing Chris here. He's pretty much ready. Chris has got a little something kind of set up for us. We have, he's been setting up these little circles around the place here. And what that is, how many did you set up, Chris? Was it 8, I think? If you have a look, you count, it's like 8 or 9 different circles. And what Chris has done, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, he's hidden very close by 8 anatomical models that you saw right at the beginning of the sequence around the place. And so please get up off out of your seats, have a look around in the bushes and the trees around the place, and each one of those models corresponds to one of the circles. So if you find a model, grab it, please, with your controller. You pull the trigger and drag it back and drop it in one of these circles for everybody to kind of have a look at and share. There you go. See some people. Matt, you want to jump up and have a
Alex has one already.
stretch your legs as well? Yeah. Excellent. There you go. There's one.
Yeah. We got an arm here. Brian's got
an arm over here. Wonderful. Okay.
They're all within the courtyard here. Anyone else?
There you go.
Some of them are kind of tricky. Got to keep a keen eye. Looks like someone got a leg. I think Alex brought the leg in here.
Hey, look! I found a live model here. I found a live specimen. He's running away.
Oh, someone has the head there. Good.
Lovely. Okay. Oh, I see. That's the model we were looking at earlier. That's amazing. Okay. Yeah. So a couple of more missing. Let's have a look. See if we can find them around the place somewhere. Very good. So this is an example.
Circle.
Right. It's a little example of how you can engage students. Little things like this, where it's not only kind of one-way conversation where they have to, set the scene. They have to go find it, and then they can share it. That really ups the engagement levels, and can kind of refresh your attention, I suppose. If you're suddenly holding a huge anatomical model of a leg, you can inspect it.
There's only one left, I believe.
There's only one left. We're all gunters. One thing is worth pointing out, that Chris has brought in I think 8 models and there's a reason why. This scene has quite a number of models in them. The more models you put into it, the more taxing it is on our devices. But it is quite possible in a more empty space to bring in, say, 10 versions of each model. And what that means is you can have groups of 3 students, breaking out, having a conversation, and one model, you just clone it a number of times, and now they can all kind of group around their own models, have a discussion, and come back together and share what they've been discussing.
Daniel,
yes.
you remind people that they can scale them up when they're playing with them, and it's quite spectacular to walk into, say, the abdomen and see.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we've got the abdomen model here. Exactly. I think, Matt, did you just walk into it? If we bring it here, anybody actually want to walk through the stomach wall and see what you discover inside it? It's like journeying. Yeah, you can actually look at. I'm looking at the digestive tract here. There's that film. What's
it's
it
like
called?
A game
Inner
changer.
Journey.
It's
It
like
is.
a game
It totally
changer
is.
for education. Absolutely.
Fantastic
Yeah, you're not.
Voyage or Inner Space or Magic School
Yeah.
Bus.
Exactly. You're not only looking at it, you're actually walking into it. And there's that film, The Inner Journey. Was it The Inner Journey or Inner Space or something like that?
Inner Space.
Inner
Yeah.
Space.
Dennis Quaid. It makes me think of that every time I see these models.
Yeah, going down the blood vest, going down the traveling around in a little spaceship.
And with a laser pointer, you really can point out anything you want. Food starts here, travels down there, goes through here, and you can really.
Yeah.
It's very different. This is not a textbook anymore, and it's not a PowerPoint presentation either anymore. It really is remarkable.
Well, wait till it's animated as well. So it's all flowing.
And then
Right.
we would be able to take this apart. So our next step will dissection.
I see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. You can. Yeah. I see what you mean. And then, of course, we have the volumetric or the photogrammetry model of the head, which you can pick up also.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the
heart.
This is the heart. So this has been dissected to show the inner chambers of the heart here.
Is it this way up? I'll put it in the light there.
There you go.
Yeah. And can
This is
I
what you see
imagine
with it from the bottom of my heart.
I love you from the bottom of my heart. Oh, I see. It's cut, and then that flap is lifted up. Is it to look in?
Yep.
Right. Wow.
By the way, the bottom of the heart is called the apex. I love you from the apex of my heart.
Yeah.
And just like this, seeing the size of this one as well. Dan.
Is that over which one now? Sorry. Where are you?
This
Alex?
one here. This one here.
Oh yeah, the mouth, and the.
So
trachea.
a little bit like, we were talking about the photogrammetry head that was the side slice. Well,
Yes.
This is the same type of area. I guess it's.
Yeah,
not
looking at the same
photorealistic,
section of
but
it.
it's-
Yeah.
same section. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, like you were saying, Alex, this is at the moment these models are static, but I think we're quite at the beginning of what we're going to be seeing. I think we're going to see fully animated and separatable models as this becomes more in demand, and people like Stanford are developing these courses. So,
I mean, on the
Quest 2 is
Yes,
coming
sorry.
out. That's going to have a faster processor. And be able to handle
yes,
more.
Quest 2 is coming out.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
I think if you
Right.
want to see what's sort of possible for what's coming with this anatomy type of stuff, there was an AR app. I'm not sure
Yeah.
the name of it, but it was like an anatomy app. And
Yes.
on that, you could do all the things you mentioned, Matt. but of course, it was on an iPad Pro. So they've got the amazing screen, so it looks great.
Yeah.
The processing power is amazing. But soon, that same type of blood flow and
Yeah.
the ability to pull sections away will be available, I'm sure.
We got a
full-
question here from
It is
Shannon.
available.
We've got a question here from Shannon. Shannon, do you want to unmute yourself, please? And then you can. There you go. Hi. What's your question, please?
Yeah, good day, Daniel. I'm just working out how I pick up the last one of our little specimens because I'm on Android.
Ah, okay. Chris, how do you pick up on Android, please?
When you say Android, are you on a phone?
Yeah, I could just lead you to it.
Ah, yeah. Oh, we see it. It looks like it's inside of the dinosaur's mouth. If someone wants to grab
Yes,
that,
there it is, that's right.
dinosaur
Feeling a little
skeleton.
bit.
Where's okay?
Oh
Yeah, gotcha. Cool. Well done. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Shannon. That's good
Yeah.
find. Good find.
Oh, you just looking at this. Sorry, I can't help myself, but let me just kind of pick it up. I want to rotate it a little bit for a moment, and I could see this being used. Did anybody ever come across the theory of like rebirthing, going back hypnotically and kind of coming back? You could use this as a rebirthing experience. I see that happening in a couple of years. Somebody doing that. Maybe Caitlin Krause.
It feels like Gulliver's Travels.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
The hip resurfacing video we saw, they have a tool that makes this joint very, very smooth.
Right. Okay. That's amazing. Well, I'm aware of time, and you guys have been, we've gone over the hour now. I think we're hour and 4, so not too bad. But I'd like to say at this point, kind of officially, thank you very much. Everybody's welcome to stay and keep interacting with these models. And Matt, you're free to, welcome to stay as long as you want. I'm sure you're busy, so if you need to go, we understand. But if you want to stay, I could imagine there would be conversations to be had. It's up to you. You think you're going to stay? Or do you have to go, Matt?
Okay. I have to go, but I would welcome an opportunity to do a follow-up.
Yeah.
I would welcome if people want to reach out to me.
Right. Where would they reach you? How would they reach you, please?
It's mhasel at stanford.edu.
Hasel with one S, is it?
One S and one E and one L. Yep.
Okay. Hasel at stanford.edu. There you go.
If you're the host that's listed on the event, they can reach out to you and you can make
absolutely yes. Please feel free to reach out to me and I can put you in touch with Matt as well. Hey Matt, I cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much.
Cheers, Matt. Thanks very much.
Amazing work you're doing, and yeah, let's look at see when we can have you back for another event or something like that. And good luck with Tripointlab and your medical anatomical program. Thank you.
Very good. Let's stay in touch and we'll keep this momentum going.
Absolutely, let's do that.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Matt.
All right. Take care, Matt. All right. Thank you very much, everyone else. Like we said, if you want to hang around, good for a chat for a bit more. But if you need to go, of course, come back soon. Keep a lookout for more events run in Engage with educators in VR, with Xrfiles, and with River. If you don't know some of the events we did with River, they were interactive in this kind of scale. Alex, do you remember we brought in we did the World War II history experience. We did the police and terrorism kind of photogrammetry models there. That was an amazing event. One that still stands out in my mind. Yeah, we have. The one stands out in my mind above all was the one where you ran us all through how photogrammetry works using actual models and kind of simulating. That was amazing.
We'll have to go for round 2 of that when we've got the
I think we will.
Going.
I absolutely think we will. Yeah, totally.
Oscar.
All right.
Oscar.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So YouTube. Right, we're going off now. So we were looking for an hour and a half, but we're going to go over an hour because we're doing for the Stanford. Thanks everybody for watching. The live will be up on the Xrfiles channel, and I will do an edited version that will be a little bit more condensed, cut out a little bit of the stuff that we're traveling between different areas. You can find that on the XR YouTube channel, and we'll announce it through different social medias. And last thing, thanks everybody for watching, and thank you, Oscar, for taking this and videoing it for us. But you can kill the screen now.
Cheers, Oscar. Thanks, Brian.
Cheers, Oscar.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Cheers.
Well done. Excellent. That's a wrap. I think I'm going to stop my volumetric recording.